The greatest discoveries in life come not from finding the right answers, but from asking the right questions. We live in this world that is obsessed with more. We're so focused on climbing the mountain as fast as possible that we forget to ask ourselves whether it's actually a mountain that we care to be at the top of. We've defaulted into most of these mountains. We've been handed them by someone else. I went out for a drink with an old friend a few years ago, and I told him that it had started to get difficult living so far away from my parents. And he asked how old they were, and I said mid-60s. And he asked how often I saw them, and I said about once a year. And he just looked at me and said, okay, so you're going to see your parents 15 more times before they die. And I just felt like I had been punched in the gut. You can't sell a fancy course or ebook on those three basic pillars. It doesn't sound complicated enough to sell someone a course on it. And so what happens is all of the financial gurus that you find out there are going to sell you the complex solution that's talking over your head to make you feel like you can't do it yourself.
And that deals them in.
It deals them into the cards.
If you could map the next 3 to 5 years of your life, give us the headlines.
I want to really expand on this movement of redefining what a wealthy life looks like and helping people recognize that they can build a life around the things that they truly care about.
Virgin Radio.
The baseball player turned private equity investor turned newsletter writer turned social media sensation turned author. That's 5 types of person whose new book, The 5 Types of Wealth, a transformative guide to design your dream life, is out now. We have the real deal in the room. It's Sahil Bloom.
Yeah, that's it. Sahil Bloom's here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Sahil,
what an intro.
I know. We're very good at that, aren't we? It's just the interviews that are rubbish. That's down to me. Sahil he's guested on some of my favourite podcasts on the planet. So if you like what you hear today, a bite-sized version of what he's done elsewhere, you need to go to Dr. Rangan Chatterjee's podcast, or Chris Williamson's podcast, or Rich Roll's podcast, or who else have you been on, Sahil?
Skinny Confidential, Girls Gotta Eat.
Come on.
A little bit all over the place.
You got Mel Robbins in your sights as well.
I hope so.
She's blurbed your book for you. That's nice of her.
She is. She's
so
a wonderful
cool.
person.
The 5 Types of Wealth. It's one of those big books. It's like Atomic Habits. It's already flying. It's going to fly forever. This book will fly forever. The 5 Types of Wealth. It's very 4-hour work weeky, not in its message, but in its seminal importance. It's right up there. And it's your first book. I suppose we could fast forward to the end of the interview. How are you going to follow this? Because it's so good, my friend.
I appreciate you so much. Yeah, it's been a long journey to get here. It was the last 3 years working on this, and really it's a manifestation of my own journey and a lot of struggle on the way, and I'm just so happy to have it out in the world.
Good for you. 5 Types of Wealth. We talk about different currencies all the time, and you've identified the headlines of this as the 5 Types of Wealth being time wealth, social wealth, mental wealth, physical wealth, and financial wealth, ironically, but I'm sure purposefully last. You put it in the book last, even though most people put it first.
Yeah, money isn't nothing. It simply can't be the only thing.
Yeah.
And that's really the message here. It's to identify the things that truly matter to you. Not what the world tells you should care about, not what social media tells you, not what your friends tell you, but what you truly care about. And then go take actions to build your life around those things.
And I suppose in many ways, the first 4 pillars, as opposed to the 5th financial pillar, are more accessible to most of us the moment we wake up, which is why you can be, 4 versus 1 wealthy and then figure the financial out once you have the strength, the attribute, and the super fueling of the other 4.
Yeah, and I think the important mindset shift here for people to have is that you need to invest in these other areas of wealth in the same way that you think to invest in your financial wealth. Every single day, taking some tiny action to build your social wealth, to invest in your relationships, to invest in your health, to invest in your mental health. All of these things are going to compound in the exact same way a financial investment does.
And what's great about these 5 bank accounts, if you like, is that you could have written a book about each of them. And people have. And they've been really successful. So if you want this sort of masterclass in time, social, mental, physical, and financial wealth, the 5 types of wealth, this is the book for. Honestly, it's a great book. I don't know how you wrote it. I don't know how one brain has written this, because it's sort of not what you did. It is what you do now, because you're talking about it. But you're not, with respect, you're not qualified in any of these particular fields, but you write so articulately and you're clearly informed about them. You come across as some kind of guru. And I know you're not. By the way, that's not a pejorative, because I don't know how you know all this stuff. Because you're like, you have a child, but you have one child who's 2.5. You talk about parenting really eloquently. Of course, you've been parented because you exist. You've been financially successful, so you've had experience in all these things. But the depth of knowledge you have is incredible, and I wonder how. But I'm not questioning you do. I just wonder how you know all this stuff, because you clearly do know all this stuff.
The greatest discoveries in life come not from finding the right answers, but from asking the right questions. And if there's one thing that I've done over the course of my whole life, but in particular over the last 3 or 4 years in this process, it was that I sat with the questions. I spent so much time with thousands of different people, really immersing myself in the human experience and doing my best to actually distill the wisdom from all of these thousands of people that I spent time with. People young, people old, people rich, people poor, different walks of life, different experience sets, different backgrounds, different perspectives. And that's really what this book pulls together. It pulls together the human experience and tries to understand and deconstruct what actually makes a good life and how can we all build our life around those core principles in our own unique way.
I love it. You must be such a good listener.
I try to.
You must be such a good student as well, to take all this in and to remember it all.
I just love learning about people. My whole life, I feel like I come from kind of a human storytelling background. My grandmother was born and raised in India and in Bangalore, and my mother, same as her, really were incredible personalities and incredible storytellers.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I grew up around that.
It's so funny you say that, because my mum used to meet with her friend Joan every Monday, and I used to, as a little boy, I used to just sit on the floor listening to them. And I think the art of storytelling comes from the females in my family. And you say similar. I've never felt that before. I've never realized that before till you said it.
Yeah, it's such an important thing to understand, like the lineage of these different perspectives that we have, to understand where those original stories in your mind come from.
Who are the teachers?
I mean, those stories create your reality too.
Yeah.
And if you have a good story about yourself, you will find evidence to confirm that.
You know, and it's the best way to get a point across. And if there's levity in there, humour in there as well, that takes the pressure off. So even better still. This is great. It's great. We will talk about the 5 types of wealth, absolutely, within this conversation. But as I say, deeper dives are available. So I would like you, as listeners to this show, to sort of take this as a trailer for longer conversations that Sahil has been involved in. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, sure.
We all need to be a bit more lagom, don't we? What's all that about, Sahil?
Yeah, the idea of lagom is the enough life. It is trying to actually understand what enough means to you. We live in this world that is obsessed with more and is obsessed with speed. And we all know this. If you're listening to this, you're probably rushing to something. You're getting to, you're through your commute, you're running to work, you're busy. And the challenge is most of us are so focused on speed. We're so focused on climbing the mountain as fast as possible that we forget to ask ourselves whether it's actually a mountain that we care to be at the top of, whether it's actually a mountain that we're enjoying the climb. And we've defaulted into most of these mountains. We've been handed them by someone else. And what this book really calls you to do is to step back and pause and ask yourself, what mountain do I actually want to climb in my life?
With fun.
Yeah, with fun as a part of that. I say in the book that the idea of thriving is something that we have convinced ourselves is an end state. Yeah. You get to the point where you achieve something, you get that bonus, you get the promotion, you get the title, and now I can thrive. Now my life will be great. And thriving really should be a continuous journey. You should be able to thrive on a daily basis in your life and build a life, design a life that allows you to do that.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful. And a lot of books that claim to have the content that yours really does have, they spend a lot of their pages telling you about why what they're about to tell you is important. And all you're reading these books for is really how, tell me how. And your book is full of hows. Should we check a headline from each of these? We'll just super trail. Time, social, mental, physical, financial. Let's go time first.
Yeah, sure. So time wealth is fundamentally about the freedom to choose how you spend your time, who you spend it with, where you spend it, when you trade it for other things. And it's really about an awareness of time as your most precious asset, of the thing that you can never get back. And this, to me, really was brought to light by a single moment in my life, a single conversation that changed the course of my life. I went out for a drink with an old friend a few years ago, and we sat down, and he asked how I was doing. And I told him that it had started to get difficult living so far away from my parents, who were getting older. I was living 3,000 miles away from them in California at the time. And he asked how old they were, and I said mid-60s. And he asked how often I saw them, and I said about once a year. And he just looked at me and said, okay, so you're going to see your parents 15 more times before they die. And I just felt like I had been punched in the gut. I mean, the idea that the amount of time you have left with the people you care about most in the world is that finite and countable, that you can put it onto a few hands, it just shook me to the core. And in that moment, I realized we had to make a change, that we had to find our center and build our life around those people, the things that really mattered most to us, to appreciate that time wealth, to appreciate that time is our most precious asset, the only thing that we can't get back.
Love it. And from that springboard, then you have the playbook of what you might want to do with your time, how you might want to deposit huge batches of time value into your life, and when to make those withdrawals, and when to borrow time. It all speaks to the financial, and the time, the chronological speaks to the financial. And let's get on to give us a social headline now.
Yeah, social wealth is about your relationships. This is about the depth of connection to a few, and then the broader, looser connections to something bigger than yourself, to your broader communities or networks, whether religious or local communities, regional communities, etc. And social wealth is fundamentally about a simple mindset shift, which is that an investment in your relationships will pay dividends for your entire life. It is probably the single best investment that you can actually make. When you fail to invest in your relationships, you will see them atrophy, and those people will not be there for you later. And we say, and I say over and over again, that the word later has become the most dangerous word in the dictionary. You say, I'll spend more time with my kids later. I'll spend more time with my partner, my friends later. I'll invest in those relationships later. But the sad thing is that later just becomes another word for never. Because those things are not going to exist in the same way later. Yeah. Your kids are not going to be 5 years old later. Your partner, your friends won't be there for you later if you're not there for them now. So either you invest in those relationships, invest in your social wealth now, or you're just going to regret it later.
All right, a bit more about this one before we move on to mentor. Tell us your theory, your beautiful theory. It's a metaphor, really, more than a theory, about leaf friends, branch friends, and root friends.
So this is derived from Tyler Perry's Medea character, and he talks about the idea that there are three types of friends. There are leaves. These are people that are seasonal. They are kind of there during the summer months when it's warm and sunny, but as soon as it starts to get cold or windy, they fall off your tree. They're kind of temporal. Then there are branches. These people are a little bit more stable in your life, but you need to be careful not to lean too heavily on them because they will break off the tree. And then finally, you have roots. And your roots are the people that are truly there for you across all of the different seasons of your life. They are the people that are broad and deep in your life. They will be there for you at 3 a.m. when all hell breaks loose in your life, when you're bankrupt, when you get fired from your job, when things are just going awry. Those roots are the people that you truly need to cherish, and you need to be a root to someone else in your life.
And I suppose the sort of magic ingredients there, the sort of Lennon and McCartney of that qualification, is that that's a friend that will call you out, but at the same time won't judge you, because the two things are different.
Very, very different. That idea of truth tellers, people in your life that are willing to tell you the truth because they're not afraid of you acting against them if they do. You know that it creates this safety in that relationship.
Yeah, because their love for you is so deep, they don't mind if it pushes you away from them or put them away from you, because it's more important to do the right thing than to want to be liked, and hopefully they'll come back anyway, unless of course they're a branch friend, because you could be a root friend or think you're a root friend to someone else and they're a branch friend to you. Maybe, who knows. Tell us, mental's good, man. Mental's tough, and you've nailed it.
Yeah, mental wealth is about purpose. It's about growth. It's about creating the space necessary to actually wrestle with these big unanswerable questions in your life, whether through spirituality, meditation, solitude, what have you. The reality with mental wealth is this is about living your life rather than someone else's. It's about walking your path, not the path that you've been handed by the world. It's about paying the price for your distinctiveness on a daily basis, actually investing in that.
And because we're halfway through, why don't we pause now, and why don't you just describe the format of each section?
Yeah. So the format within each section of the book is, it opens with a big question. I said at the outset of this segment that questions are so important. The willingness to ask difficult questions about your life, your growth follows on the other side of that. The answers you seek are found in the questions that you avoid. This book will force you to ask those questions. After that, we kind of run through actually the theory of that type of wealth, break down the pillars of building that type of wealth into your life, and then importantly, every single section on each type of wealth ends with a guide to the actionable principles and strategies that you can start taking today to build that type of wealth into your life.
It only took you 3 years to write because you have done all the heavy lifting on our behalf. It's so good, man.
Yeah, and I think it pulls together the best of wisdom from all of these different areas.
Yeah, that's the thing. That was my original question. How come you're so wise? And what you've done is harvested wisdom, haven't you?
Yeah, I don't think that it's me being wise. I think it is.
Well, ultimately, it is bizarrely.
Maybe by inference. But I really feel like I have pulled together a lot of the smartest minds and collected them into a single place so that people can really act on it in one way.
Can I say, because I read these books for a living, and I have guests like you on and have had forever. You can say that, right? But other people have tried to do that and it doesn't work. So you have done something differently. You may not know what it is. Don't think about it too much because it might stop you from doing it again. And we'd like another one of these. Right, physical.
Physical wealth is about your health and vitality. It's about taking the controllable actions on a daily basis to actually fight against the natural decay and atrophy.
Now, we know all that, but speak to it a bit more.
Yeah, so the 3 pillars that we need to think about with physical wealth are movement, nutrition, and recovery. And the problem in the day and age that we live in today is that you are being bombarded by really complex information on what it takes to be healthy. And if you are a beginner, if you're starting out, that is really intimidating. And that convinces you that you can't possibly be healthy if what's required is this crazy regime or, expensive set of tools or all of these different things that social media is convincing you need. The reality is that anyone can get started at level 1 today and get 80-90% of the benefit by just doing 30 minutes of movement a day. That's it. Doesn't matter whether it's walking, biking, jogging, hiking, whatever you like doing, 30 minutes of movement. Nutrition, just eat whole unprocessed foods at about 80% of your meals. Call that 17 out of 21 meals during the week. And then recovery, just try to sleep 7 hours a night. If you do those 3 simple things, super inexpensive and reasonable for anyone to get into, you will get 80-90% of the benefit within the health domain.
Yeah, and you have that lovely phrase, don't you? Anything above 0, no matter how small the percentage, will compound.
That is such an important meta concept for life. It is. And that is critical because really ambitious people have a tendency to let optimal get in the way of beneficial. Meaning we say, if I can't work out for an hour, I'm just not going to work out at all.
It's got a built-in excuse, hasn't it?
It's a built-in excuse, and we get in our own way. When the reality is, doing 15 minutes of something is better than 0.
Yeah.
And understanding that in all of these different areas. In your social wealth, sending the text to the friend when you were thinking about them is a positive move, an investment in social wealth that compounds.
It compounds, but also you do get an instant hit from that, don't you? Because if you don't, we so often don't do that. And if you bother to do it, that can change the rest of your mindset for the rest of your life by doing that one text.
Momentum is a powerful thing.
Love it. Right. Financial, you're good at this, the financial. Can you give us a bit of background with your finances and financial, without being too sort of, I don't want to go where you don't want to go?
Sure. No, I spent the first 7 years of my career working in the world of investing. I was at a private equity fund, really marching up the ranks of a competitive industry, basically moving money around on a chessboard.
Did you do well?
I did well. And, my own journey and the reason that I wrote this book was the fact that I got so narrowly focused on money being the pathway to me living a happy, fulfilling life that I lost sight of all of these other things. And I started to see my life collapsing in a lot of other ways, while on the outside looking in, it looked like I was winning the game. It looked like I was doing the thing that everyone tells you should want to do. And so that is really, a sort of natural part of the journey to actually writing this book, was getting so lost in the one thing that you lost sight of the much bigger picture.
Can you give us the 3 pillars of financial?
Yeah, the 3 pillars here are 1, income generation. So this is building skills and then leveraging skills to grow your income over a period of time. The second pillar is expense management. This is actually managing your expenses such that you have a gap between the income, cash inflows, and those cash outflows. And then the third piece is long-term investment. It's taking that gap that you have there and investing it into things that are going to compound over the long term. Every single journey that you see of someone building financial independence is some derivative of those 3 pillars.
Why isn't this taught at school? I don't get that. I don't understand. Do you think there's a reason for that? A more nefarious reason for that?
I don't know if there's a nefarious reason for not being taught in school. I do think that there's a nefarious reason for it not being more common online. And I think the reason is you can't sell a fancy course or ebook on those three basic pillars. It doesn't sound complicated enough to sell someone a course on it. And so what happens is all of the like financial gurus that you find out there are going to sell you the complex solution that's talking over your head to make you feel like you can't do it yourself.
And it deals them in.
It deals them into the cards. And that I do think is an unfortunate reality. And it's part of what I'm fighting here across all of these areas is to say, you are actually capable of doing all of these things on your own. You don't need a fancy course. You don't need to pay someone a whole lot of money to do this for you. You can get started today.
Einstein had a take on compound interest. What did he say? Do you remember?
He called it the eighth wonder of the world. And that is really true. Compound interest in all of these areas of life is fundamentally the force that you need to harness if you want to build the life that you want.
He said, he who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. I was never taught about compound interest. Were you? No. And your dad's quite handy at all this stuff, but even he didn't pass it on to you.
Nope, nothing.
It's strange, isn't it? Compound interest 100% works. It's always worked. It probably always will work. Why wouldn't it work? I don't know, but it's going to work within our lifetime, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness me. You open the book and you talk about the one luxury you did identify for yourself personally would be a beautiful holiday home, vacation home for you and your family forever. Have you bagged that one?
Not yet. Not yet.
Well,
no.
hopefully this book will help you do.
Well, it's on the journey.
Where might that be?
It's on the journey. I hopefully somewhere warm because we live in New York and it gets pretty cold and miserable there in the winters.
Where would you go? Come on, if you won the lotto tomorrow, what would you
if I won the lotto tomorrow, probably get something in Florida because it's close enough that I could bring my whole family there.
Yeah.
That's really the point of it to me. It's not about the house itself. It's about being able to create these experiences with people I love.
No, I got loads more questions. Vassos, do you want to
talk a little bit about, you say if you're going to, hang your life around something well, in my case, it's Tuesday and my wife and I have a date every Tuesday afternoon and I hang my life around that. And you were going to hang your life around being a coach for your little boys, whatever, baseball team, but how that has ripples.
Yeah.
Ripples. You're big into ripples, aren't you?
Big into ripples. I absolutely love ripples. I have this concept in the book of the life raiser, the idea of a single identity defining rule for your life. And the whole concept, it's your Tuesday date or my coaching my son's team. It is a statement that you can make that lays out how your ideal self shows up in the world. And you can use that statement to navigate whatever chaos or opportunities come into your life. So mine, as you said, is that I will coach my son's sports teams. My son is 2.5, by the way, so he's not playing on any sports teams yet, but soon he will be. And I am determined to be a coach of those teams because that means something to me about the type of person that I am. It means that my son has to want to have me around. It means that I'm the type of husband that my wife is proud to have in the community around other people. It means I'm a community member. It means that I always place my character and integrity in front of financial opportunity. So when any new opportunity or chaos comes into my life, I can ask myself, what does the type of person who coaches his son's sports teams do in this situation? Well, I certainly won't be taking a new job opportunity that requires me to be away for 300 nights out of the year. It means I probably won't sacrifice my integrity or morals to make a whole bunch of money on something because I know what I value. I know what is my center. I know what is my true north.
Your watch is set at 10 to 5.
I'm still on East Coast
I was
time.
going to say, that's so interesting. Oh my God.
Well, I landed late last night.
Did you
Yeah,
actually?
so it's like, it's very early
That's so
East Coast
funny.
time right now. So I'm bringing some energy here.
Are you
but
going to keep it on Northeast side?
I guess I'll keep it. I hadn't even thought about it until you
It's
just
so funny
noticed.
looking at it there, because I was looking at my clock thinking, how long we got left? Looking at your watch thinking, this is a different time.
Am I boring you?
No, not at all. I love it. I love it. Seriously. How could you have bored me when I listened to all of your chat with Rongan, which was 2.5 hours, Chris Williamson, which was 1 hour 37 minutes, and Rich, which was 2 hours 34 minutes or something. No, I love it. It's a great message because I do this for a living, and this is not a BS book. This is a proper book, man. And you really could have written 5 books. I presume there's the next 5 types of wealth because we talk about it all the time. Energy is a currency. Attention is a currency. Jealousy is a currency, if you want. They're all currencies, aren't they?
Yeah, in different ways. And I think the whole point is Focus on the currencies that you actually care about.
Yeah.
And that's really the entire concept of this book. It's not about giving you the answers. It's about helping you ask the right questions so that you can uncover the answers that make sense for you.
Yeah.
Because my answers are going to be different. The things that I want to build my life around will be fundamentally different from all of you out
Questions
there.
are the same, but the answers are different.
Exactly. And you'll come back to it and have different answers at different times in your life. As you navigate the different seasons of your life, your answers to those questions will change. The questions will remain the same, but you will fundamentally change.
The segment that made my blood run cold, right, was the bit about money and the origin of money, and because it's always been Bitcoin, hasn't it? It has, hasn't it? Sort of.
Yeah, that was such a fascinating segment.
Was it barley?
Yeah, barley and cowrie shells. That was the big one.
It's just, as long as you agree on it, it's okay, because that's the only way it works, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm glad that you picked up on that, because I had a lot of fun writing those kind of history segments during the book, because I broke down in each section sort of the history of the human struggle with that type of wealth.
Oh my gosh.
And that money one was really fun to research.
That paragraph in your book where you say, and this is the point at which the UK and the USA abandoned the gold standard. And I was, what? We did what? And from that moment onwards, we just printed as much money as we needed. And that's what we're still doing. And the people who print as much money as we need whenever we need it have a problem with Bitcoin. Well, I wonder why.
Go figure, right?
Emperor's New Clothes.
Yeah, go
and all
figure.
that stuff.
Yeah,
By the way, none of this is financial advice. Zero financial advice. Before you go, it's been a joy to meet you. I knew it would be. You're on fire, my friend. 2 more questions. Are you never not on fire?
I am very frequently not on fire, but I just keep showing up every day to do something.
Well, you can't tell. My second question is it your right shoulder that's shot to bits or your left shoulder?
My right shoulder.
Tell us about your right shoulder.
I was a baseball pitcher for most of my
Pretty
life.
good, eh?
I had my moments. I played at Stanford out in California, and had a pretty incredible experience and several great years there. Unfortunately, did get hurt by the end of my career. Although, in hindsight, probably a blessing in disguise, because it saved me a couple years of toiling away.
Then you wouldn't be here talking about this and helping people out.
Maybe not.
I have a right shoulder issue. Sorry, this is completely narcissistic. My right shoulder is shot to bits too. What have you done about yours? What can I do about mine? We could talk about this off the air, but I'm sorry, we're on the roll.
I would probably really just prioritize strengthening the muscles around the shoulder.
Hanging any good for
Yeah,
you?
Hanging does help a lot for people. Although if you have acute pain with hanging, you shouldn't do it. You should go see a doctor. But strengthening the muscles around the deficient area does often help.
Because every time I play catch with my kids now, I have to stop, and it's really annoying.
Yeah.
And I'm old, but I'm not that old.
Yeah, I stopped. I stopped, fortunately, before my shoulder got too bad, because I wanted to make sure that I could throw batting practice to my son when he was growing up.
All right, Sahil, great to meet you, man. If you could map the next 3 to 5 years of your life, give us the headlines.
I want to go deeper on this idea. I want to really expand on this movement of redefining what a wealthy life looks like and helping people recognize that they can build a life around the things that they truly care about.
By the way, I didn't realize you got a gig. You got a gig, man, this Thursday. Yeah?
I do.
Pretty good. Royal Geographic Society in London this Thursday. If you like what you're hearing and you want to hear more and meet the man in person and smell the cut of his jib in conversation with Chris Donnelly, tickets are available. The 5 number 5, the 5typesofwealth.com. And also you are online. It all started online for you, didn't it?
It all started online.
Tell us where you are online.
You can find me at Sahil Bloom on any major platform. And you can find my newsletter at sahilbloom.com/newsletter.
Well, you had fans before I'd heard of you here. They told me of your existence. I then went and found out more about you online. I then talked to my kids about some of the things you'd said, and then the day after all that, they said, "Would you like a guy called Sahil Bloom on the show?" I said, "Yes, please."
Divine intervention.
Isn't that gorgeous?
I love it. The
Let's
universe.
hear it for Sahil Bloom, everybody. All right, plenty of room for Sahil Bloom at the top of the tower whenever he wants to join us.
Virgin Radio.